I'm joined by Bushebi Jr. who is privy and he has done a research on this matter. Karibu sana.
Asante sana. Mesh Mezuela Msimbi.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. You look fabulous. How are you?
I'm good.
Let's get it on then.
Now, over 3,000 cases have been reported in the country of gender-based violence. What could be the matter?
Of course, gender-based violence, just leave alone even over 3,000 cases that have been reported. In 2020, we had 92% spike in the rate of GBV in the country. Just between January and June 2020 alone, 92%. And I think that's the time when we had COVID-19 pandemic, and everyone was coming back home. Everybody was home. I think mother, father, husband, brother, sister, uncle, they were all at home. And I think that's the time when people are getting to know each other. Like, you're a husband, you look at your wife like, who are you? Because all this time, you guys have been just waking up and going to work and you've not been together. And now that time brought people together to discover each other or one another. And so we had a huge spike just in 2020 alone. 92% is quite a lot. And if it's compared to the same period in the previous year, 2019, now to curb the rising cases of GBV, the government needed to take more action to protect women and especially children. Yes.
Thank you. How prevalent is abusive marriages?
Abuse in marriages, yes. There are quite a number of factors that bring about abuse, just not in marriage alone, but in all cases where GBV has been reported. Even right now as we are talking, there's somebody going through some sort of violence, whether in marriage, whether children, something just based on your gender. And when we talk about gender in Kenya, we have two genders. We have male and female. In other countries, we have over 16 genders. So in Kenya, when we talk about gender-based, we are talking about either you're a woman or you're a man. And there's discrimination that has been going on, and which sometimes leads to violence and can be called violence itself. Not just in marriage, like you asked me, but there are quite a number of factors that are facilitating, now to be specific, in marriage. One of them is poverty. Poverty is one of the driving factors causing gender-based violence. The reason why a man or a woman would fight is because they're poor. So it's one of the reasons why people are having problems. Pesa ikikosekana kwa nyumba, mambo huchemuka. Na mambo ikichemuka, watu hawaelewani. Unapata mama amepiga mtoto kwa sababu alituma mtoto na shilingi 10 aenda nunue kitu fulani, mtoto akapoteza hiyo shilingi 10. Kupoteza shilingi 10, mama amepiga mtoto hadi mtoto amezimia. We've seen kwa nyumba bibi alipika kuku na ndio kwa mara ya kwanza kwa miezi 6 kuku inapikwa kwa hiyo nyumba. And then the man discovered steak 2 haziko. Anaamua kupiga bibi. Sometimes it's about paying the bills. Sometimes it's about who's going to pay school fees, how we're going to raise these children, hakuna pesa. So such things zinaleta fight between couples. Unapata couples wana fight over management of the few or little resources that is available, and sometimes not available at all. And so questions begin to rise. Utapata mke anaambia mume wake, kazi yako ni kuwa kama wanaume wengine. Na mwanaume naye anamuuliza, una compare mimi na wanaume wengi? And then they start fighting. So that equals to gender-based violence. So it's being brought by poverty because we don't have, so we have to fight. Instead of sitting down and asking ourselves, how can we better our lives? We begin to fight because we lack. Another thing is unemployment. And this is a huge problem, not just in married couples, but in just gender-based violence at large. We've seen young people who've been unemployed, unable to be independent. They cannot command their lives, and eventually they get into depression and stress. and they begin to violate the rights of other people just from the mere fact that they are jobless. Okay, perhaps maybe umeendesha gari yako umepita and they are jobless, you hurt them.
Sure.
And worse is when it's a woman driving and those boys are seated there and they are looking at that woman like, how on earth did she get all this, you know? And they begin to abuse that woman. Oh, she opened her legs, or, you know, stuff like that. It's all over. Look at the media and the stories that are coming up. You'll see gender-based violence on social media, sexual abuse, and all these things. I'm reminded of so many stories of how people were violated just because you're a woman or just because you're a man. A lady posts her photo, says beautiful or hi people, and the next thing, a million comments abusing her. Or a man posts something, a million comments abusing that man. And so they're all forms, whether social violence, whether physical, whether emotional, either way, you are violating someone basing on gender, which is not a good thing. And then there's also the question of illiteracy. Most people don't just understand that they're being violated. There are issues of marital rape, where maybe your wife or your husband doesn't want to be intimate, and somebody forces themselves on, you force yourself on your partner, and it becomes marital rape. And you find that many people don't even know that such a thing exists, and it's a crime. And so it's a balance between culture and the legislation. So there are so many things. Illiteracy. People don't know that emotional violence is a crime. You can't just emotionally manipulate me. And sometimes women are so good at that. They can manipulate you emotionally until you end up doing something that you never wanted to do. Another point is alcohol and substance abuse. These are factors that contribute to all these things. I'm reminded of the story of this guy. I think he's a social, I don't know what title he uses on social media, but I know of his story, which he said that at some point he was invited to a party by a male friend. He's a male. He's called Brian Chira. Some time back, Asia took him to police for nasty abuses. And you see, that even tells you. You see, let me finish his story first, and then you'll see the connection on how he ended up even abusing ASEAN. According to his story, is that I was invited to a party in Mombasa, or so, if I'm not wrong. And when he went there, he was sodomized. His friend organized for him to be sodomized. So he was given alcohol, he was given drugs, and when he passed out, he was sodomized by the people he trusted. And because he was sodomized, they ended up infecting him with HIV. And so he became traumatized over that. And so now, because he could not heal, he ended up in a rupture of depression bouts, to the extent where we saw the game playing between him and ASEAN, abusing that lady with nasty words. That is how it is. So drugs and alcohol contribute a lot to gender-based violence. Somebody will violate you through drugs, either because they are intoxicated or maybe because they made you intoxicated. And so they have an advantage. They will blame it on the alcohol. And you'll find that you're being violated just because of drugs and alcohol. So the government, I think, has put a lot of effort in trying to expand even the crime frequency. How far should we go with crimes? Like I just mentioned, there's something called marital rape. That is just an expansion of a crime scene where some things can be taken into account. Yes.
All right, out of the research you have done, can abusers possibly change?
Yes and no.
How?
Yes, because nothing is impossible. and no, because sometimes change is hard.
Sure.
Especially when putting all those factors together that I just mentioned. One of them is poverty. When there's poverty, so we begin dealing with the poverty issue for us to have a change in that situation. Where there's unemployment, we have to deal with unemployment issue for us to bring a change in that sector. Where there's illiteracy, we need to put a lot of resources in literacy to make sure that there's awareness. People know that this is wrong. You're not supposed to do this. Where there's alcohol and substance abuse, we again need to put a lot of effort in that area. So to answer your question whether somebody is able to change, we need to look at the factors that instigated that person to do what they did. If it's unemployment, then let's shift in that direction. If it's drug abuse, then let's deal with the issue. Let's deal with the root instead of dealing with the fruits or the leaves. Let's go to the root of the matter. What is causing all this? There are these factors that are put out. Poverty. Is it possible for us to alleviate poverty from the society? We've looked at unemployment. Is it possible to provide employment and reduce the rate of unemployment in the country? Number 3 is illiteracy. Are there enough resources to do what we call awareness about GBV? Do people really know what gender-based violence is? Do they really understand? Wakati ule unaambia mtoto kichwa kubwa kama ya mama yako, when you abuse your child like that, do you really know what you're doing? It's violence. So we need awareness so that in every sector people may know. And then there's the issue of alcohol and substance abuse. We've seen the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua fighting this thing in central Kenya. The other day a report was given about Kenya and how they are consuming alcohol and abusing drugs. And that tells you why the rate of GBV is high. Alcohol, it's almost like Kenya is a drunk nation. Everyone is just drunk. You meet, everybody is just drunk. And so to answer your question, I think we need to factor in these points that I've just said. Number 1 is poverty. Number 2, unemployment. Number 3 is illiteracy. Number 4, it's alcohol and substance abuse. Yes.